Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
And the Monday Nights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here, along with Andrew Hedges, Dylan Lesnar, and the late Troy Otto is just rolling in. How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty stellar. Another fine Tuesday evening here, and I couldn't be joined by any better boys than the crew that's here right now.
First time back in a bit. Are these new sexy microphones?
New, baby.
Damn.
Yeah, you missed the scoop.
Oh yeah, you missed the details there. So we'll get to that off air. As always, give us a call on the Whoop line 714-75-WHOOP.
Fucking professional.
I know, baby. I know. We're wheeling and dealing tonight, boys.
Email the show podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe on Twitch. You can go to youtube.mnlhl.com to follow the actual YouTube videos as well if you want to see what our recordings look like. So few things as well. We don't really have any voicemails, anything like that. I want to give a quick shout out to Jeremy Drager. He's actually got some access to the Instagram account. He's been posting a lot there. So if you haven't been checking that out, make sure you give it a follow. I think it's MNL_hockey. And the podcast actually started an Instagram account as well. It's Benders and Brews. Give that a follow. We started to get a little traction as far as our likes and everything on that side of things. So I think let's get over to things. Our first thing on the agenda would be the Pick'em standings. As we've talked about in the past, it came down to two men, Mr. Troy Otto, Mr. Dylan Lesnar. I think Troy was technically up by 2. Or,
No,
I'm sorry,
I was down
I'm
by
sorry.
2.
Dylan was up by 2, and both competitors did not have a good week. Both of them got 1 point, which means Mr. Dylan, he won the competition.
Oof.
Thank you, boys. Thank you.
I knew I was in a trail position, so I took the Deeks over the Seals because I knew Dylan was going to take the Seals, so had to roll the dice there. And then I think I took the Americans, so I got the first game of the night, but then I took the Ducks because I was subbing for the Ducks, and so no chance. Tried to catch the loosey goosey, but couldn't do it.
What teams did you pick if you only got 1.2? What's going on there,
Pick
huh?
the fucking Whalers because Dave P connived me.
Of course, every time. Before every game, it's just Dave P's like, hey, you got to choose the Whalers. We're feeling it tonight. I hydrated.
And then I picked us, obviously, and then I picked the Ducks because I knew he was playing. So it was a safe pick.
Yeah.
And I believe Troy had some picks, and then he emailed later in the day and changed those picks.
Yeah, and I can't remember which one. I think I actually switched from the Whalers to the Americans, which was probably the only one I got right. Again, I took the Deeks not thinking that they were going to win, but, I just kind of had to catch Dylan. I kind of had to, But who wants to win their own contest? So we already started talking about the prestigious award. It could be Red Wings game. It could be Duel in the D. But I think Dylan opted maybe for Asian massage rub and tug,
baby.
So I'm gonna kind of let him pick, but I think all those are nice prizes, courtesy of Otto Family Properties for all your real estate needs.
As much as I love the rub and tug idea, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm gonna take you up on the Duel in the D.
Yeah,
4 tickets, baby.
We can do that.
4 tickets.
We can do that. It's Monday night. So I make sure the kids don't have hockey.
Make sure, it's during the champinships.
Yeah,
series,
would be
playoffs.
fun. I mean, Michigan State, after being horrendous in hockey for like the last 6 years, they're tied for first in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. Michigan's been hot lately, so should be. I mean, the atmosphere will be better than the Red Wings game. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So
I'll make it work.
So for someone who doesn't know what the duel in the D is,
It's Michigan versus Michigan State. So every year they play, I don't know if they play 4 or 6 games in the regular season, something like that, but they rotate, each year. It's I don't know whose home game it is this year, but I think it's actually Michigan State's. So one of Michigan State's games, instead of being at Munn, it's down at Little Caesars Arena. And they do that every year. So it's fun.
yeah, that sounds like a good time. It'd be a good thing, having some children, bringing them to a game, hard fought season. Very, I want to say I was looking at it and you were one of the only people in the competition that did not get a 0 all year long.
Hockey IQ, baby. Hockey IQ
I
off
mean-
the charts.
I mean, I think it's a testament to myself for hanging in there. I mean, he had the Seals; they just basically won all year. So it's like, when the North Stars started off so slow, it's like I was just crawling back. So I didn't lose; I just ran out of time.
And he counterpicked you the last week too. I mean, you're choosing the Ducks, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna save face. I'm gonna go conservative and choose the Ducks. I'm gonna choose what Troy chooses."
Past 2 weeks, North Stars too. I did that last week.
Yeah. What
Play
can you
smart,
do?
baby.
It was fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. I think a good competition. I think we've done this a few years. Good time as always. Hopefully we'll kind of keep that up. Who knows? Next year, maybe it'll be a prize as well. Maybe we'll change it up and we'll do more of a, enter to win, $5-10 type of thing, and the winner takes
Yeah,
all.
that'd be fun.
There's multiple ways we can do it. We can look into all those situations and
Cheers to Piercy. You ran it way more efficiently than I did. So the origins of the pick'em were on that announcement channel. Who do you got? And then they do the little icon, and then I would screenshot the icons, but like at 8:55 before the game started, and then I had to go through and kind of like this Excel spreadsheet. So Piercy definitely took the reins and did a much better job at tracking it than I ever did.
Go
yeah,
you, Piercy. Go
I
you,
have
buddy.
no idea how you were able to deal with something like that. The email, it was nice because it actually put a record in there, so I didn't have to deal with if I was running out of time or anything of that realm. I could kind of deal with it and go back to it the next morning. So it made it a lot easier. I think it was the right choice in a way that we could do it in the future as well. And I was actually Google has a way that you can set up emails to just send them out. So I was able to one weekend just set up every one of those emails, set it for 6 a.m. on Mondays, and they just went out and I didn't have to worry about it, which was also nice to not wake up Mondays and be like, what do I have to do today? What's going on?
Yeah, and it was a nice little treat for me. Every Monday morning, you get the little podcast email. It was nice. Hopefully, hopefully more people do it, because I think some people missed a few weeks and then they just they realize they're not going to win and blah blah blah. So
yeah, I think that always happens where people forget a few weeks, people get down in the standings, they stop sending those emails. So it's a normal thing. I think when you're kind of out of it, it's harder to kind of keep your focus and feel it. So
That was me. I was like top 5, and then I forgot a week, and then like I sent one and never got it, and I sent it from NMCI, fucking MCI, and then it was like, oh, well.
Then there was that mysterious caught in the
there's
outbox, not the outbox,
it
in
was,
the
it
draft
was.
folders.
No, it was. That's what was my issue. I sent it from NMCI. I sent it from a government computer pretty much, and it never kicked out.
Conspiracy theories.
It didn't even recognize. No, it didn't even recognize his email. It was just like, yeah, get fucked.
Alex Jones, relax.
Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theory.
yeah, I swear I sent it. I swear I sent
that
it.
his
Look,
name?
here's and I was like, do you have it in your sent box? And you were just like, no, I don't even have it there. So
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's whatever. I was gonna screenshot my my government email, like, oh, here it is, Piercy. Like, not happening.
So either way, so the regular season is over. Playoffs are about to start, but we did have one more week before we actually moved into things. So let's go into those games real quick. So our first game of the evening was actually the Whalers versus the Americans. The Americans pulled it out in overtime with a 3-2 victory.
After trailing 2-0.
After trailing 2-0, which I was gonna say, since I was part of this game, I guess I would do the rundown and the recap of that. So yeah, the Whalers, we actually got up 2-0, and one of those was we scored a goal. Our first period, I believe, was 0-0. I feel like we were winning the game pretty handily there. We were outplaying them. Scored a goal, went back down. There was a controversial play where Dave P shot it across. It went off off Peso's skate. At first, the larger ref, he called it a goal. Little Joey, not most respectful thing, Joey, the ref, he then called it off saying it was a kicking motion, I believe. I don't really fully know what the rule is. I know in the NHL, if it's a kicking motion, it's not a goal, versus if it goes off the stick or off the skate and it's ruled not a kicking motion, I believe that is a goal. I don't know how that differs. You know, you actually are, I think, a certified ref, or you were. Do you know what that rule is?
I actually checked because that was a new NHL rule a couple years ago where they changed it to make it basically you have to literally have a kicking motion to have the goal nullified, and they made it more lenient. That's the new rule. So it's much more lenient. So it's clear that in the NHL that would have been a goal because Peso did not kick it. I mean, I think he kind of stopped on the puck and he might have redirected it. So under the NHL, that would be a goal. I checked the USA Hockey rulebook because I wasn't sure if they followed that change, and it says basically as long as you don't kick it in, it's a goal. So I think it was probably the wrong call personally, but you know it's close. I mean, you could argue that he intentionally.
I thought if you redirect it with your skate at all, it's considered a kicking motion. Like if you're stopping and it goes off your skate in, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if like that puck comes towards your skate and you even like turn your skate towards the net and it goes in, it's considered kicking. But
and I don't see the way I saw it is that
I didn't see the goal at all.
he stopped like a kind of a hockey stop, and then it went off his skate and in. He didn't like turn the inside like soccer style. So I personally think it was a bad call, but it's definitely debatable.
that kind of sucks.
I think the big thing was Peso was pissed because the ref right there, Rob, called it a goal, and then little Joey from left field comes in and little discussion, then gets them overruled. But I think what Piercy was going to say is that I think Serta came down on like the next shift and scored. So
Yeah, right
that
back.
seemed like that may or may not have happened if the goal had been awarded.
Yeah, I think that was the tough thing there where, we were upset. One of the problems there was we actually had, obviously people get emotional there. We scored a goal. We were feeling good about things. And then they call off the goal. Dave P. and Peso were not happy about that. I don't think it helps that they were actually complaining to the referees during that time. And I think it hurt our chances there for getting calls later on in the game. Now, Serta did come back. We scored a goal a minute or two later, which I think, obviously helped us. It's hard to say if we were going to get, we'd get those goals and be up 3-0 there. I could think we continued to outplay them after that. And then
that second goal was by Serta, correct? Because that was from behind the net and Ike passed it from one side to the other.
Like I said, that was like a minute or two later. So there's no guarantee we would have got that third goal there anyway. So who knows how that would have actually went. After that, it was a close game, kind of going back and forth. They got 2 goals in the third. I thought, and even I think Simonelli, a couple of those guys, there was a couple calls that I think the refs missed in the third period. A couple like hits from behind, things like that. The refs do the best they can. It did suck there. They did say they got away with a few, but in the end, it went into overtime. First shift, we had a couple guys fall over, a couple bad passes. Antioch got the puck all alone in front of Cam. He's a skilled enough player where he's able to take the puck and snipe it home.
You want to call it how you want to actually call it, or you just want to say, oh, Antioch went in and sniped the open net? Because some folks from the stands were a little incredulous at like how Peso just kind of gave up on the play, to be honest with you. I mean, that entire play started, whoever passed it to Peso, then he got tripped up or something happened, and he did like a snow angel on the ice. And then like Proctor did the one knee slink thing. He still had the puck. If Peso would have got up and like just gone straight for the puck and picked it up and kept going, or like attacked Proctor, he might have been able to beat Proctor for a breakaway. He's like picks up the puck, passes it across the ice to whoever was there, and it was like a lane pass, which was then picked off by Antioch. And then like he didn't back check, he just waited at the blue line. So it was just kind of frustrating to see, like, I don't know, between like the inept passes, like to start the play, whoever passed to Peso originally, and then Peso doing the snow angel thing.
Was this the overtime goal?
Yeah, overtime goal. It was frustrating to see. And then Antioch went in and scored and was like, oh, well, I guess that's, typical Whalers sort of thing.
Yeah, Whalers fucking season in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, like trying to do like the pretty thing one too many times, and like you don't finish it clinically, and then it's whatever, just give up. Fuck it.
Yeah, that definitely, it wasn't a fun way to end the game, but things happened. There were some calls. Like I said, we didn't think were the best calls, but in the end, I do think that Peso and Dave do need to work on not yelling at the refs, because I don't think when you're yelling at the refs, I'm not saying they purposely are going to put calls against you, but it's hard for them not to just in the back of their head kind of have something against you in those situations.
Yeah. I mean, we all know I love Dave. He's one of my favorites. But, and I'm not directing this at Piercy, because I think Piercy's a professional, like kind of, you know, Piercy is what he is. He's the Proctor stopper, but he's pretty even keel. But it's like the Whalers, and I'm sorry, they're still, it's the playoffs, anything can happen. Maybe they'll right the ship. But I feel like they're mentally weak. I mean, last week, you know, the Tigers bring in a sub, you know, Slick Rick.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just fucking give up. You know, it's like that they lose 8-1 and they're just like, fuck it. They had a bet, they sub up, you know, so we're just going to fucking give up and get our asses kicked 8-1. It's like, I know that guy was a sub up. It doesn't excuse losing 8-1. Now this game, you know, a couple calls go against them, and then they fucking just whine and mope and boom, 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 and then they fucking shut down and lose the game. And then afterwards, it's like they just fucking complain about the refs. So, you know, refs are gonna fuck up. I'm not saying our refs are perfect. I'm not saying that I don't bitch about the refs. I fucking
I've mad bitch about the refs this year. And then I try to do it over the top to get to the Stonewall Troy here, and then he's like, like I don't care. I'm like, oh crap.
What I'm saying is that I get in the game. It's like I'm not, you know, this is like do as I say, not as I do. Like I get getting worked up in the game, but then it's like after the game, anyone who complains about the fucking refs, it's like over the course of a season, it's gonna fucking even out. And it's like if my son, you know, kids are kids. They're like emotional, so it's very common for kids in youth hockey to come out. Oh, the refs suck. It's like in the minute I hear a kid say anything about refs, like shut the fuck up. Yeah. You know, take it out of their hands. Refs fucking up are part of the game. You know, you watch the NHL, you watch the NFL, they have full-time professional refs. They have all the fucking technology in the world, and they still fuck it up. Yeah. So any of these people expecting perfection in MNL Beer League, they're fucking idiots. I'm sorry. Yeah. And that's not to say that you can't get upset in the moment. I do. But it's like after the fact, it's like, you know, to constantly if it makes you feel better to blame it on the refs, fine. Fucking feel better. But I think the Whalers have been mentally weak.
Use it as a crutch.
You know, and they've been shitty all year. So maybe they'll right the ship and figure it out. But very unimpressed with the Whalers.
And I think that's something that we'll kind of get to when we go to more of our playoff preview type of thing, or even our in-season review if we kind of go through some teams. Also, super quick, I did have a setting on the recordings that kind of, the beginning of the podcast might sound a little bit weird. I think I had it turned off and the sound should be better, more at the levels that we wanted at. So I do apologize for that if I can't fix it in post. But let's move on to the next game. We had the Nordiques versus the Seals. The Seals won this one 5-2. The three of us weren't here to actually see this game, but we have Mr. Dylan Lesnar who saw this game. So why don't you give us a quick breakdown?
Look at that notepad. He's ready to go.
Already.
He's ready to go.
AKA Mini Pete over here.
I thought I might have had a chance too, because like the fucking Deeks were out. Who are they out? Decon, and then they got to sub up for Serta.
Yeah.
So they had some sub ups across the board, and then
they didn't bring in Serta. Or wait,
Serta. Yeah, Serta played.
Never mind.
Still got fucking bombed, but I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, so to start off the game, it was going back and forth. Conor and me made some great saves. Fister ended up getting a breakaway like he always does. No offense, Conor, but I mean, you played tremendous. I think you get the second start of the game, but Fister fucking deked you out of your fucking jockstrap. I mean, did the fake shot over and fucking slammed it home.
Was it a little signature thing where he goes this way and comes back this way and then flips it?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I've seen that thing 58 times. And
it's one of two players in this league that I know their moves. Yeah. One of two players. I've seen that 10,000.
Who's the other one? Sugar Hardy?
I'm not telling you the other one.
Sugar Hardy does. He's been doing this for 8 years. He has one breakaway. He like goes this way, then comes back this way. And then the thing with Sugar too, the difference is that Fister, when he does his little fucking thing, then he flips it and he elevates it. Yeah. Sugar does that hard thing. He beats the goalie every time, but then he slams it on the ice and the goalie just gets their pad across. And
Pete has like, so it's like Pete on one spectrum and there's Sugar on the other spectrum, and then there's just right good porridge in the middle is Fister. Like Pete gets the puck up, but he doesn't have as much like lateral like length razzle dazzle with like Sugar does. Sugar has too much razzle dazzle. Fister has just enough porridge to make it right.
Enough right there.
He just does that little boom boom, flip it back, and then flip it.
Yeah, I mean, he caught Conor pretty good, and then Weaver comes back right away, and it was 2-on-1.
Who was Weaver playing for?
For I don't know who he's subbing in for, but
for the Deeks, right?
Deeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Weaver. You had Serta, and you got Woods on the second line. They were buzzing all night. But Yeah, Weaver comes on a 2-on-1. I think it was with Woodsy or it was Serta coming down on the off wing or whatever. And I cheated over because I didn't think Weaver was going to put it home and puts it bar down. Yeah, I mean, right underneath the bar. Good snipe.
What was this the first period that this happened?
Yeah.
So
this
it's
is all the first
1-0 and they
period.
came down.
Yeah,
and
right away. So, and then Alan Zeese gets a clap bomb from the point screen. Nice goal. And then Fem, I mean, literally 15 seconds later, comes in. It was a broken play, kind of, and he just changed the angle to the backhand. He was about, I don't know, 2 feet off the crease and just put it home. And then
the Fem Bane?
Yeah.
Dude, he's your Bane. Like,
Dude.
everyone's seen The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. If you've seen it, you know the scene where he pulls out the sword and it's glowing and orcs are near. That's when Fem gets around Dylan. He's like, oh, Dylan is near. His stick starts glowing and he just snipes goals on Dill. That's the only person in this league. He's the only person that has your number.
He does, too. He's got a great shot.
besides me.
Yeah, you too. You too. I got to give you credit.
He's got a goal on me, too.
I think I got 3 on
Yeah, he's
Dylan.
got at least 3 on me this year.
Holy
Yeah.
But who's counting?
Yeah,
But who's counting? I am.
And then that's where Shawnee takes over. Shawnee nets 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wins the bet.
Not a big deal.
Game, set, match. Wins the bet.
Yeah,
Everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the over under. What was it? He's at 10 goals. He needed what? He needed 2 for a push, 3 to take it, 1 wouldn't do it, and he scored 3.
I thought that if he got 12, he won. But anyways, even he took away any asterisk by getting 3.
Yeah, I got no clue about that bet. But yeah, I mean, the game was super fast out there. I would say the fastest all year. Our first line with Edge in, that was the best I've ever seen him.
So what does your lineup look like then? Who was playing defense for you guys?
We had Lepudre, we had with Whoop, and then we had
That's a speed line.
yeah. Then we had Whoop and I don't know who else played D.
Alan Z, and then who'd you have in for? Who'd you have in for? Oh, Old Man Iden for Leroy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they played good. They played pretty solid. I can't complain.
I mean, the Seals are definitely benefiting by General being out and getting the pick of who's ever, behind him. In this case, it's Edge. So it's like you got Batman, Robin, and Edge. That's a pretty formidable top line.
Yeah, Edge,
and that's if you play him at forward. You could play him at defense if you wanted
well,
to.
he was the best sub we've had for that first line. He was just wheeling with him.
Yeah.
I mean, chemistry-wise.
Look at Troy's face. He's like, yeah.
He was not a step behind him. He was integrated with him. I think they played tremendous. Their second line played great too. Pella had a great little razzle dazzle, little stomp on the brakes, little toe pull. But yeah, it was one of the fastest games I've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean both teams have a lot of speed, so it's interesting. Let's move on to the last game of the week. We had the Tigers versus the Mighty Ducks, with the Tigers winning this one 2-0. We're gonna go over to the winning goalie, Mr. Andrew Hedis, on this one.
The spicy tender. Yeah, I mean, this entire night was kind of subgate. I mean, I want to say subgate. I mean, it's kind of sub city. Every single team had 4 or 5 subs, including us. I think we had 3 subs yesterday. We had Pete in, we had Peso in, and
Ty.
We had Ty in. I know the Ducks had who? They had you, Troy. They had Piercy and Venade and someone else. So I mean, there was a lot of subs on both sides. But the first game of the night, the Americans and the Whalers, and then our game, the Ducks and the Tigers, were like the ones kind of the last meaningful games, quote unquote, would decide who would end up what place. So
it was nice before going in. Like the Whalers were up 2-0, and I was kind of like, fuck, this game's not gonna mean anything. So the Americans coming back and getting that 2 points was kind of nice. It made the game mean something.
Mm-hmm. Which was kind of like when we were sitting in the locker room, we were like, okay, well, we're feeling like a little cushy. We're like, oh, get out the sausages, boys. Let's have a little BBQ out here in the D zone. We hang out. Game doesn't mean anything. Whalers doing us a favor, and then the Whalers and Piercy and the boys let the game slip away. So pretty much let the game slip away. So I think Peso was a little still chirpy after that last game. Want to prove something, which is nice because like Peso playing and complaining isn't like the best Peso you can get. But Peso complaining with a chip on his shoulder, that's a different Peso. That's like Clark Kent and the Daily News, right? And then he takes off the jacket. It's like, oh wait, it's Superman's Peso. And he got a goal yesterday in the second period. He got us up 2-0 in the second. Not to skip the first goal that Pete got on a breakaway also in the second. I felt that the Ducks with your subs, I mean, it was you, Sugar, and Busta on that first line. Surprisingly, that first line and the second of Antioch, Bauer, and Venade,
Yep.
both outplayed our first and second lines. You guys probably had the puck maybe 55-45, and you guys had more quality scoring chances, I thought, yesterday. It's just the only difference was I thought that the one scoring chances we did get, the few breakaways we got, I think we might have gotten like 3. We kind of converted on 2 of them.
Yeah.
Or converted on 1.5, I guess. I mean, because there's a 1-on-1 with Pistol and Peso.
Yeah.
And Peso's goal was nice. His second goal, I mean,
Yeah.
so is Pistol's. Pistol had a breakaway, put it high, and then Peso dragged Turtle across the slot. Kind of did what you did in the Worms, just chopping snakes across the top of the hash marks and ripped it high on Ryan Z. But yeah, Ryan Z played well. I thought you guys played well. It just didn't convert your chances.
Yeah, I thought it was more like 65-35.
Oh, could have been, yeah.
I just felt like we dominated possession and chances, but then just the Ducks, we do all that, and then their defensemen make a bad pinch, and like the Tigers have like quality 2-on-1. It was like a counter punch. We control everything, body blows. Then it's like a little counter punch, 2-on-1 breakaway goal, and it's like, what the fuck, So I think that, and you knew that going in, like Pete's goal. It's like Rubel does one of his rushes. I hang back and cover for him, but Gibb doesn't know like where the fuck I'm at, or so then like me and Gibb wind up both covering Peso, and Pete has his clear breakaway after we had him pinned in the zone for like fucking 3 minutes. And then Peso's was a nice goal. It was a 1-on-1. He went across the mouth and scored. But I thought the Ducks were just buzzing all night. Like I can't even remember one shift where we were like pinned. That's not to say that Pete and Peso didn't have a couple of counter punch here and there, but like I don't think we were pinned in our zone the whole fucking night. And conversely, I feel like we were just buzzing the fuck out of you the whole fucking game, and we just couldn't fucking score. It's so frustrating.
The only time I felt we had the puck in your zone is if it was like after you had the puck in our zone for 2 minutes, and then like it transitioned and like Skillman and Taylor or someone, we got the puck deep on you for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we'd like have it down there, but it wasn't generate tons of scoring chance or anything. And then we immediately changed because I mean both lines have been this your line, your second line, our second line, your first, our first have been out there for 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yep.
At that point, everyone's dead from skating either in our zone or yours, and it would just change. So
yeah. Spicy played good though. There's a couple times I thought I had him.
oh, there's the clap from Dill. Thanks,
Nice
bud.
shotty.
But good game. It's a bummer. I hate losing, even though it's not my fucking team. I hate losing.
Yeah, there was one that I thought was kind of hot. You put your hands in the air, like, oh, it's in the net, it's in the net. And it was in the net.
Yeah, well, because I thought it was by you, and I think it hit somebody, and then went in, like, because I was like, how the fuck did that end up in your? Like, there's no way I shot it here, and then all of a sudden it was there, so it went off of something. But I thought I had one. But what can you do?
You put one of my gloves in the first, dude. If you
Yeah, plenty of chances.
I appreciated that a
Tons
lot.
of fucking chances.
I was on the post. Sugar comes around the goal mouth, and everyone on our team goes, you know what? No one needs to cover Troy. He's the only guy in the slot. He gets the puck on a stick. He doesn't look when he shoots. Your head's down when you shoot. You just rip it on net really quick. And I had my glove there. I had to like do one of those spider monkey
snag.
things.
I enjoyed playing with Sugar. I mean, he got me. I would just find a little spot in the slot, and he found me many times. I felt like I let him down. I couldn't fucking score, but we had fun.
It was definitely a fun game. One of the funny things to me is I think, correct me if I'm wrong, does Peso play harder when he's a sub than when he's a Whaler?
I've heard that theory. I don't necessarily buy it. I mean, he was the same pace on me. He's just fucking floating around, and it's just like whether the puck. Like again, I don't remember Pete and Peso like having any like sustained pressure. It was like the puck squared out, Pete would go, and then they had a couple 2-on-1s. They had some chances, but I didn't see Peso skating his dick off or anything like that. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the strategy that the Tigers have of kind of just that breakout pass of kind of, I don't want to call it cherry picking because people are getting back on defense, but it's kind of, moving out of the zone quicker than maybe the Whalers are doing it. But I kind of feel like that would be a nice game. The Whalers need to play more of that to get Peso kind of like out there in the open, kind of those one-on-one situations where he can beat one guy and then try to snipe it home.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk. That's what Proctor does. It's like Proctor definitely, like, he will float high in the defensive zone, and the drawback is that you give up a lot of chances. But if you keep the puck out of your net and then the puck gets chipped past the defenseman, boom, you're in. And that's the life of playing against the fucking Americans, And that was kind of what happened last night. It's like we'd have the Tigers pinned in, then they chip the puck past Gibb or Rubel or somebody, and then it's a fucking 2-on-1,
Yeah, and that's part of some of those. Some teams can get away with that. Some teams can't. I mean, it's just kind of like you said. You live and die by that kind of play. Sometimes, if you keep the puck in another team's zone for 2.5 minutes, I mean, even if you're the team that's possessing the puck, you can be dead after 2 minutes of keeping the puck in the zone and moving it around, a couple face-offs and stuff. And especially in like Monday Night Lights, I mean, not every single guy in the league plays, 2-3 times a week. So if you get like a higher end guy like Pete or someone or a Serta type or Proctor type, and they get that one chance where they've been kind of like have the extra reserves to chip it by and go. I mean,
they're just waiting and lurk. Pete and Proctor are probably two of the best at just lurking in that high defensive zone, just lurking, waiting.
And what's nice is a lot of times they'll stop those high slot opportunities, which can cause a lot of issues for some of the goalies in the league. If you have a lot of shots from the slot, I mean, obviously, that's where you want to be. That's where the pucks go in. But if you have someone that sits in that high slot in the middle of that slot that can play defense and get sticks on people, they're not going to have the opportunities to score what they want. And then the added bonus is they can break out of the zone more quickly, which is nice. So that's your strategy. But by the same token, they're still getting a lot of shots. They're still getting them from bad angles. It may not be less quality shots now, but it also is more shots. So
yeah. So let's move on to more of the season standings / a little bit of the review. We obviously know kind of where we are there. Obviously the North Stars and the Seals, they got the buys, 1 for the Seals, 2 for the North Stars. Tigers ended up kind of having a rally at the end of the season to finish 3rd. Americans have been in a little bit of a slump, finishing in the 4th spot. Whalers, they've been slumping, I'd say, at the end of the year, but they still got that 5th spot, followed by the Nordiques. We've known for the last couple of weeks that the Ducks are going to be missing out on the playoffs this year. I think we've had a consensus that it made the season more important by actually having someone miss out on that. So I guess my first question of this would be who was your surprise of the season as far as team or player?
How about you do a team, and then how about you do a player both? Since, I mean, that's a very generic. We could sweepingly be like, there's like 10 different people in this league. I'd be like, oh, this player's a surprise player. And there's like 2 or 3 teams. I'm like, oh, this is a surprise team.
Let's just give me either one on that side of things, because it could take forever if we went around the room for everybody to do one of each.
Oh, for me to start? Mm-hmm. Well, I said it like week 4 into the season. I would eat some mad crow for it, and I've changed my opinion. Is Mr. Dylan Lesnar, the top goals against average goaltender in Monday Night Lights, and the Flyer pick at number 3 that Whoop took. Number four at Whoop took, excuse me. Yeah, number 4 at Whoop took over a possibility of Ryan Z. Kind of lent to the Seals' resurgence this year. I felt in Monday Night Lights, and that's one of the main reasons, if not the reason, why they're at the top of the standings.
Thank you, buddy.
I think for me, I'll go with team, and I'll say the Whalers. Going into the year, I was one of the few. I was high on the Seals. I think I was the only one, and I think they were just the most consistent team all year. I was right from the onset. I said the Ducks were going to be bad. When it came to the final prediction show, somehow I flipped. I had the Deeks 7th and 6th. But I mean, if you listen to the podcast, I think I was pretty low on the Ducks. But the Whalers were, and the Seals and the Americans and the North Stars, I kind of had them in the middle. And I think the North Stars probably were. If we didn't make that trade, I think the North Stars were kind of destined for that probably 4th, 5th place. If we didn't make the trade, I think that's fair. And I had my concerns about the Americans and the Tigers kind of middle of the pack. So that all pretty much went kind of how I thought. But the Whalers were just a disappointment all year, right from the get-go. I mean, I think the first game of the season, they beat the Ducks in overtime after the Ducks had gone like 0-3 in the preseason or something like that. And then you're just waiting for them to figure it out. It's like, oh, they'll figure it out. And they were just an average. They weren't bad, but they were just, I think everybody at the beginning of the year thought that they were going to be one of the top teams. If you go back to our predictions, I don't think anybody had them worse than 2nd place. And they're just a mediocre team all year. They're not bad, but just they could never get it to click, and they just kind of average all year. So there's still time, but there's only, you're down to one more week.
There's no more time, Troy.
Yeah.
It's put up or shut up. You have more
time.
game.
Yeah.
So if they lose next week in the wild card, then I will say that is just a train wreck of a season, and it might be the last that you see of the Trent and Serta show. So there's a lot of pressure on that game.
The Buffalo Sabres and Monday Night Lights might be here now, so we'll see.
Yeah, so I got the North Stars as a surprise of the season. I mean, the way you guys started and the way you guys drafted, I felt like you guys were 4th or 5th. And after that fucking trade, it was... You guys are the scariest team, I feel like, I'm playing against. Well, also, I let Nate goals against us, so a little biased. But definitely scary on both lines. I mean, who do you guys got in your first line?
The first line is the Pete show. It's Pete, me, and Joe Ellis. So it's kind of like Pete and then two good,
good shots.
Most teams have like, besides the Seal who can run 3 good forwards, but most teams are set up with 2 good forwards and 1, bender. And so we have Pete, who's 1, and then me and Joe are just both like kind of medium. So,
but both have great shots.
Yeah, Pete does a lot of work, and we've gotten some chemistry. And then our second line is just stacked because then we have Ty, but then we have Doc Hollywood and Gio, or Suits and Gio. Pick your, So our second, so we got 2 good lines, and our D just is. Underrated, but they kind of get the job done.
Yeah, Sikorsky guy's back there. He's panning out pretty well. Troy.
So he is. He's scary as shit. His first couple games at D, I was like, what the fuck? He's just kind of he's kind of like a mini McShannock. He's like chasing the puck everywhere, but he's settled in. Sikorsky's just a great guy too.
He is.
He's
he's a mensch.
Yep, I've enjoyed having him. So it's been a lot of fun for the North Star. So appreciate it.
Yeah, that and my player is Neville for the Seals. I mean, that guy, he's a 11th or 10th round pick. I mean, 4th from last, and he wins 50 to 60% of his draws every fucking game.
That's a big Corsi stat right there. The advanced stats, 60% of the draws.
This guy he's just pumping all. I mean, he's a marathon runner, runs marathons like every fucking week, and he's pumping all the fucking time. So I got to give
definitely
it to
a steal in the 10th round.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, good pick there. Kind of on that same thing, surprises me is I actually originally, when the draft happened, I didn't like the Deeks, but then during the preseason I saw them play. I actually subbed for them, I think for Panny, and they were looking good. Their line combinations were looking good, and I was like, I think I was wrong about that draft, and I think I picked them high, pretty decently high in the predictions, and I was wrong. I think there was a bad trade in the middle of the year for them. I think that hurt them a lot. I think most people, when they saw that trade, they didn't like it for them. You can say what you want. We thought it was a chemistry move or not, but I think in the end, when it comes to MNL, when it comes to just hockey teams in general, talent wins out. And I think they did take a backward step in talent. So I think that hurt them overall.
Yeah, but they weren't tearing it up. They weren't tearing it up before the trade. It's like chemistry too is just so underrated because I go to the Whalers. It's like the Whalers. The sum of their parts does not equal the individual part, like the total. Like there's something missing there. And like the Deeks, like they had Pete, Andy Fem, Gio, and Kimmel. That's 4 good forwards, but they could never get them. They couldn't find the right combo to get it going. Whether that's because the defense was bad and couldn't get them the puck, but they couldn't do it. Then we get Pete and Gio, and I'm like, I'm not playing these 2 fuckers together. I watched them do jack shit all year on the Nordique, so I'm splitting them up. And then Gio and again, Doc Hollywood's kind of a playmaker, but it's like I was kind of a playmaker. I'm just saying, not a big deal. Not a big deal. My point being, again, not to toot my horn too much, but it's like I traded for Gio. I'm like, my number one priority is to get Gio going. I'm gonna put him. I'd love to play with Doc Hollywood and have him set my ass up so I can light up the stat sheet. But I'm like, I am gonna get fucking Gio going, and we did. And then Pete's going too. So it's like I don't know. It's like, am I a genius? Chemistry, But my point being, like the Deeks just even before the trade, the Deeks were not clicking. So then they make the trade, and then it certainly didn't help them. But it's not like I think they have as many points after the trade as they did before.
Yeah, I'm on board. I'm the same thing with you. I felt like the Deeks had to make a trade. And the issue was none of the teams Monday Night Lights wanted to really make a trade. There was, at the time, there's 3 teams that were willing to make a trade. And don't give me I'm the Ducks and Busta, we'll trade. No, you guys wouldn't. You guys didn't want to trade anybody.
They
you guys
didn't even try.
Fast and even try. Exactly. So realistically, there's only like 3 teams that were willing to make a trade in the league. And no offense to the Americans, but Manny and Antioch, none of those, like, they're always, when you're at top of the league, and same thing with the Seals, you're top of the league, and everything's good, why change something that's good, right? Yeah. And traditionally, they haven't made a lot of trades in the past either. So realistically, there's only 3 teams in the league that were willing to make a trade. It was between the Deeks, the North Stars, and the Tigers, right? So the Whalers maybe to a degree, but I mean, unless you're moving one of the GMs, then, maybe because, we want to get like a different high-end guy for another high-end guy. But again, it wasn't going to happen to anybody in the team. So there's 3 teams in the league that were willing to make a trade. So the Deeks were stuck. Either you trade the Tigers or you trade with the North Stars.
Yeah. I caught wind that the Deeks were willing to, move Pete because I think Pete was kind of... They weren't having success, and Pete was kind of grinding the locker room, and so I heard that the Tigers were close to acquiring Pete in like a kind of a 3-way trade, and then I was like,
I'm in spicy,
and I was like, whoa, okay, so Pete's on the table, and then I kind of dangled Judge out there, and and then the rest is history, and it made our team.
Yeah, obviously that was a good move there. I think I think I was pretty consistent by saying most of the preseason that he was number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
So when you're able to all of a sudden, you have Suits who turned into Doc, who
Yeah.
might turn back into Suits, but
Yeah.
either way, all of a sudden now you have him
two
who
first-round
is,
picks.
then you go to Pete, and you're not necessarily giving up, 2 extra picks because Gio and Cunningham, they're different players.
Steal.
I think they're fairly close, but I think the big difference in that trade was Pete for Judge.
I mean, Pete's definitely higher motor than Judge.
Judge fits the Nordique's game, I think, better.
Yeah.
I do. I personally do.
Like I've said before the season started, I said before he had draft rankings, and I mentioned before speed kills the Monday Night Lights. And at the time, I mean I'm not throwing anybody under the bus or anything else. I mean I've talked to Troy and other people before, and off ice, everyone a Bapu party deck. Long story short, speed kills, and if you look at Pete and Judge in a vacuum, who has faster speed and who can headman the puck more quickly up the ice to somebody else if they in stride if they have to, it's going to be Pete. I mean, he gets the speed behind him, and then if someone's breaking, give him the puck, and he can go and get it to open space.
Pete's better offensively, but Judge better defensively.
I don't
Correct.
agree. Well, I mean, as a defenseman.
Correct. Yes,
No,
but that's the advantage
forward,
of.
even as a forward. Judge is further back. He back checks better than Pete. I would say.
You played a lot more games behind Judge than anybody probably else in this room or has seen Judge play, so that's fair. I mean, if you want,
I know we're probably killing Peterson, but the other thing with Pete that you cannot underestimate, he's been in the league from the get go. He knows every fucking player. He knows who he can chip it by. He's like, oh, that defenseman, I'm gonna chip it by him and go. This one, do. And Judge is figuring it out, but there's a difference. Pete knows every situation. He knows the league, and he's got a little bit more fit. Judge is a beautiful skater. He's not a great finisher. And so there's a little difference there too.
Oh, definitely steal. That was a great trade.
Well, Judge, realistically, you could say what you want. He's probably a defenseman. He can play forward.
Correct.
He can play defense.
Correct.
It's just, where was he drafted? Was he second or third round?
Second round.
Like I said, he's probably a defenseman in my mind when it comes to what your perfect position is. Not necessarily a Monday Night Lights, but if you're going to be on a normal team, and it's hard because you really need that scoring in those early rounds. So to be taking someone like a Judge who's a defensive player in the second round, but you can't count on for being, a top 10 guy in scoring, top 15, it makes it really hard to kind of put your team behind the 8 ball. That's what I would say.
Especially for the Nordiques, which it's a different if you have your team like the Americans, where you take star number 2, and I mean as your number 2 pick, but you have Proctor, number 1 pick in the league. He's gonna generate goals, so you can get a defenseman that's in the second round, but you're gonna have someone there as a goal scoring ability. When Suits goes down, you have to replace them, or if the Nordiques, they're not generating goals and they make that trade, they're expecting to get the same goal production back or more from Judge, and that's just not the type of player he was. But the advantage of the Deeks, like we said when this whole discussion started, was that that trade that they made was for the ability to play around with their lines, because at the same time that, like Troy mentioned earlier, they got the same amount of points in the second half of that trade as they did in the first half. So it's been pretty much moot course. So just trying to change the course, trying to change the chemistry, trying to do something to change the makeup of the team was what they were aiming for.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we talked about a lot of the players' disappointments, who did good, who did bad. Any other overall thoughts just on the regular season in general?
I thought it was a great regular season. It's like the format change worked. As much as it sucks for the Ducks, I feel bad for them. I mean, it sucks, especially because it happened I really thought we were destined to come down to the last week of the regular season, and I was hoping, and it's a bummer it didn't happen to that. So I feel bad for the Ducks because it sucks. It sucks coming to the rink, not having anything to play for. But it made the whole regular season a hell of a lot more interesting and a hell of a lot more fun. So I thought it was a great year. It was competitive as shit. There wasn't, even though the Seals had a great record, I feel like all the games this year were, really competitive, and the Ducks were in last, but they were in, it's not like you could tell the Ducks and you're like, oh, that's an automatic win. Like last year, the Americans sucked dick.
We got beat by the Ducks.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was a great year.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, I would say someone missing out on the playoffs is definitely puts a lot more emphasis on that season. I think in the past seasons before, we've had it where, oh yeah, it sucks that we have to play in that first round. We don't get a bye, but we know we're making the playoffs anyways, and anything can happen. I think there's quite a bit of difference between the two. So definitely a good change, even if we, doesn't sound like it's going to happen this coming year, but if we ever go to 8 teams, you know, you want those bottom 2 not to make it because it puts more pressure. It would have been, like we said, it would have been a lot more fun if it came down to that last week instead of 2 weeks kind of knowing. But at the same time, it was a good time, and I think it did make things more entertaining and spicy and just, you know, made you stay on top of your, you know, on your toes the whole time.
Yeah. And one more thing that I want to point out is just cheers to the new guys. I mean, it was really a great year. I think I'm trying to think if we got rid of a couple, like we got rid of House. I don't think many guys are shedding a tear, you know. And then of all the new guys, I might miss some people, but we really had some awesome new guys between like Matt Taylor, Pfister, Dylan, Woodsy, Pellet. I mean, I think the guys that Simonelli's just a fucking great guy.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the blend. We got some young, we got some old, we got some awesome, we got some middle. And I think they all embrace the league. I'm trying to think of like, did I miss any other new guy? Matt Lapudre, great,
Matt,
you know.
yeah.
And I think most of the guys embraced the league and hung out.
The guy to your right.
I already said Dylan.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm used to Goosey. I'm used to Silly Goose.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, I'm trying to think, like, of every guy that we added, like, I think most of them really... I mean, look at Pfister. I mean, and his uncle. It's like from week 1, they've been all in. And that's just as important as the on-the-ice stuff is the embracing MNL. We want guys that are going to hang out and really get into it. And
doing the scoreboard every single week. Like, every team doesn't have... Some teams, like, don't put up people to do that. So to have someone, like... He's like, I'll volunteer. I've done this before. I'm like, sweet. Thanks, Uncle Rico. Shit.
Yeah.
And
playing the tunes.
I will say this because
old man Ite's great. You know, it's like I don't think there is one new guy that like I'm like we kind of fucked up by bringing in that guy. I mean, I think
I would also want to point to this. There's a lot of people who are saying you got the bin. I find it funny that Ben's one of the guys considering he got in on the expansion of like, oh, if we ever expand, I don't think that's a good thing because too many people, all that kind of things. But you look at it, you said like this year. Very good year for expansion. I would say that on most of our years that we've done the expansion. That's where, you know, we got our Bins, we got our Stars, we got a lot of those other guys that weren't in that 4, you know. Even Sips didn't make the cut, I think, in the original 4. So
Edge, another good guy.
You know, don't be necessarily scared. Expansion isn't always a bad thing or isn't always, you know, it could be the same thing this coming year where, you know, inevitably we stay at 7 teams, but not everybody can always come back. People get jobs, they move, people have family stuff, everything like that. We bring new people in. Typically, we're going to find good people who want to be in the league that are good fits, and it's very, very rare that I think we find a bad apple that comes into the league.
Yeah. Which you're going to have. You're going to have with any expansion. You're going to have a couple bad apples, but it shouldn't deter you.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think I really think it worked out well this year.
Yeah.
So
totally agree. So let's kind of move on to the playoff bracket. So few quick things kind of on that agenda. Starting off round 1, it's going to be the best of 1 series. Going into round 2 and then the finals, it's a best of 3. We do a reseed in the second round. So it's not necessarily bracket. It is the worst team that's left will play the top team, the Seals. So just as a reminder there. All of our games for these are going to be on the Olympic ice, which could also be a factor. And the sub rule is actually the same as it is in the regular season, except you do not have to give a priority to someone who bye or who is technically, you know, not playing right now in an eliminated state. So I guess my first thing is we know that right now the Golden Seals and the North Stars are the 1-2 seeds. And they are on a bye.
Surprised it wasn't the Americans.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But we have a bye. The North Stars have actually had a bye last week as well.
Yeah.
Does that time off affect those teams in a good way, in a bad way, or does it not matter?
I can tell you that I'm a little bit concerned. You know, now for the guys that are going to play, you know, like for me, like I played last night. I'm hoping that if I don't sub in one of the games, I'm going to go to sticks and pucks. But yeah, it's a concern.
Okay, Felks as well.
Yeah,
the Worms.
So, but it's definitely like a guy like people that aren't skating outside of MNL, like Graham. I mean, the fucker's missed the last 2 weeks because he's been in DC. Plus, we have 2 buys, so it's like it might be his first time on the ice in a month. So yes, it's a concern. And then we have like the unrelated to the buy. We got the Suits. You know, is he in or is he not? Then we got Maff is now on the injured list. So I'm definitely like, we were fucking rolling, you know? So I'm definitely not happy about the layoff, but at the same token, we kind of needed it for injury. So
I was
see
going to
what
say,
happens.
Gio, that's going to allow
Gio.
him to hopefully get healthy
Yeah.
for you guys and get back on the ice for when you guys actually play again.
Yeah, and I will say I would be very scared if we were coming back to a 1-game scenario. I mean, at least it's a best 2 out of 3 series we're coming back to. So we don't want to drop game 1, but if we do, it's like at least we're not out of it. But
you got a chance.
definitely cause for concern.
And Dylan, with you guys obviously have the bye as well. Now you played on Monday, but you have next Monday off as well. You guys technically do have an exhibition game on Monday. I don't know how that'll be as far as people showing up versus not showing up. How do you think that'll affect the Seals?
Well, that's the first thing I've heard about the exhibition game, but hopefully we do.
Yeah, we're going. I mean, depending on the attendance, because I've heard, I know there's already some injuries. And I'm going to, what I envision doing is running a drop-in skate, and I'll probably invite, because I don't think we're going to get 100% attendance, and then especially some people might have to sub. So I'll probably open it up to any Ducks players too, between the Ducks, North Stars, and Seals. Maybe run a drop-in. I talked about maybe getting a coach to do like a skills practice. So we'll see, but we're definitely going to be skating.
Well, I'm hoping for more of a exhibition style match between us two, because you guys got the upper hand on us. So if we do end up facing in the finals, we kind of get that libido back. You know what I mean? Get that confidence back. But
we'll run a little roll call and see what kind of turnout we get.
yeah, but I don't think it affects us too much, to be honest with you. Might be good, might be bad, but like Troy said, we're coming back to a 3-game series. So if we do drop that first game, I'm confident in myself that I can at least steal a second game. You know what I mean? In the third game, I got great team behind me. So
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things you just mentioned there. The key is with those bye teams is it's not one and done. It's the best of 3.
yeah,
Even if you don't want to be rusty and you don't want to have issues happen, but if something does happen, you still can make that up. And agreed, I think a lot of us, we skate more than once a week. The guys who are not necessarily this is their only league. It can be a concern. You would hope that those guys get out next Monday so they, stay sharp on that
that's
side
another
of
thing
things.
that helps the Seals right there, because our last round, usually last round is usually going to be your not in shape guys, so on and so forth. Well, we got Neville. He's running fucking marathons for breakfast, so we're good to go.
Eats
good to-
nails sort of thing.
He does, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's move on to the games. Our first game of next week is going to be the 9:00 game on the Olympic ice. It's going to be the Tigers, the number 3 seed, versus the number 6 seed, the Nordiques. Cunningham is actually already out of this game. From everything I'm hearing, it sounds like Rubel is in.
Correct.
Other situation here, Matt Taylor, apparently his elbow is all jacked up as of right now. I'm
Facts.
assuming it's going to be, with the playoffs, he's going to be in.
We'll see. I mean, I'll probably know a little bit more tomorrow. I play on Wednesdays with him, and if he plays tomorrow, then that's a yes. Probably he'll be playing on Monday, assuming everything goes well. But like I said, after he had that issue with the other game and the subgate game, I guess whatever, with Ranger Rick out there and started to chase him down, he in the late third, and he had that elbow thing. It was infected. He had to go to the hospital over the weekend, etc. So he's been out the past couple weeks, but hopefully those 2 weeks he's been out gives him enough time to get out into the ice. Otherwise, we may be either calling the local deputy of North Starville, Mr. Pistol Pete, or we may be trying to implement a little Ducky 1-2 combo and let Sugar get a little taste of the playoffs this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing for him. So,
I mean, what's better than Sugar playing and he gets to play with Ben, since Ben's slotted into our lineup now, right?
is
There you go.
that official?
From my understanding, it is.
Yep, that's official.
Well,
No.
yeah, I mean, it's always tough to say with stuff like that. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how people feel about your elbow's jacked up. Do you really want to, take a chance with that? Just for Monday Night Lights, it kind of
It's
depends on the
playoffs,
person.
one and done, baby. I will say that I wasn't, and again, I don't want to read too much into it because they did have a shit ton of subs, Ty being one of them, but I was not impressed with the Tigers last night. I mean, I felt like the Ducks carried the play. Hedges kind of bailed them out, but the Deeks haven't been able to beat anybody all year, so I don't know. Anything can,
that's a false statement. They've been able to beat us, and
Yeah.
But the week
that's on this mind right here. So you have to
Yeah.
worry about
The week
that.
before, you guys subbed a shit ton of people and played tremendous. So
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I mean, obviously the Tigers are favored, but you know, I don't know. We'll see.
Corner catches a fucking hot streak.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy about these one game scaries. I mean, it's scary, man, and you know, goalie, a lot of pressure on the goalies. Like you can't give up a softie, and you can steal a game, and so
The way Corner played against us last night, if he plays like that against the Tigers, you guys are in fucking trouble.
yeah.
You have 5 goals.
Yeah, but also
I didn't want to say. I was thinking
it
that.
could have been 15.
I was thinking.
it could have
you know
been
what?
15.
If he stops 10 out of 15 goals, gives up 5 against us, I'm pretty confident on my skills that we'll win that game if my team scores 5.
I don't know if he gives me scoring chances.
It's tricky though because with the reseed, it's like there's no, even if the Deeks win, like there's no scenario where we get the Deeks in the second round. So cheering for the upset doesn't really, you know, help the North Stars. We're staring at the Tigers, Americans, or Whalers.
And that's the other game that's on the docket is the Americans Whalers, which will be interesting because they just came off of this past game, the last regular season game, where they're trying to play a little bit of spoiler action. And the way, like we said earlier, the entire earlier beginning of the show was like Whaler season 101, like what's happening with them sort of thing. So they have one last game to get it together, and hopefully Piercy and Dave P and Peso and the boys will give the Americans all I can got.
No
and
Antioch in that one.
Well, I was gonna say before we get over to that one, real quick, I'm not even gonna ask Hedis, but we have the Tigers, the Nordiques. Who do you have?
Yeah, subject to the sub. I mean, subs can play a huge role in this, but given the note, I guess I'm going to make this assumption with Matt Taylor playing, okay, and Rubel out. I think I'm going to go Tigers 3, Nordiques 1.
Yeah, I'm going Tigers too. In either scenario, if they sub in, if they don't have subs, I think it's gonna be more like 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I don't have to do a score. I'm going to pick the Tigers as well. I'm assuming Matt Taylor is going to play. If he does, I feel like they're going to win that game.
I just don't know if we can put the puck in the net. You know, Andy Fem, for sure.
Put the puck in the net on me last time. Kimmel got a goal on me last time.
Yeah.
I can tell you all 3 goals right now. Want me to?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not like we're going to be shocked if the Nordiques. This league is competitive as shit. The Nordiques are definitely capable of winning. I hope it's a close game. You know, as a fan just watching, it's like I'd love to see fucking overtime. You know, I want to be. I'm not sure if should I chant Hedis. I'd hate to chant Hedis, and then the Tigers lose, and then he's like, "That's so fucking bush league. It cost us everything by chanting Hedis."
I didn't even know you were chanting my name the first time. So now if you do that, now I can call you out on it. But
But I hope it's a tight. I mean,
I think it will be.
I'd love to see overtime.
well, that's my question: is how does that work in the playoffs? Is it
Same scenario.
Is there still a shootout?
3 minutes. The only difference, and we should clarify this with Panny, but I think it's still a 3-minute, 3-on-3 overtime, and then I believe it's a 3-man shootout. Where in the regular season it's just sudden death. In the playoffs, I believe it's a 3-man shootout. We should definitely verify that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. I was looking at the rules earlier today, and that was one of the things I didn't look at. I tried to look at the reseed, the sub, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But
in an ideal world too, it's like I heard people saying like, "Oh, you should play it out." But again, people sometimes we take for granted how lenient Hazel Park Ice Arena is with us.
Well,
but it's like we're already playing we're so lucky to have an overtime to begin with.
That could be possible if you have the extra other sheet and you have to take an extra 10 minutes. I mean, it's kind of a dick move that came stealing your guys' exhibition ice, but like.
Yeah. No, but it's not. It's not. Maybe if the Stanley Keg Finals or something, but for a one-way game wild card, same format.
yeah, I hear you there. Moving on, we have the Americans versus the Whalers in the 4-5 matchup. Obviously, we saw this was a close game last week. I think, like we kind of mentioned, Antioch is out. From everything I'm hearing, Turtle is in on that game as well. I'm not a neutral party here. So, Dylan, what are your thoughts on this game?
I like the Whalers in it. I'd pick the Whalers. I don't think the Americans got it in them to go back to back.
Well, not back to back, but 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Oh, back to back because they beat them
back-to-back
last
wins,
week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my feelings on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Whalers are a deeper team. I think they'll control play. They'll have the puck more, but it comes down to finishing. And I think we saw that in that game. It's like the Whalers will probably have more puck possession. They'll probably have more shots. But when the Americans do get their shots, Proctor can finish. Now, the Antioch loss, Turtle might be a little. They're different players. I love Turtle. I love playing with him. He's super smart, but he's not a finisher like Antioch. So now the Americans are really down to, one finisher.
Oh, you're freaking Woodsy there. Come on
And
now.
Woodsy.
Oh, let's
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Will Sips be back?
Will Sips be back? I'm praying that Manny catches the flu or something. I'd love to get into that game. That's just selfishly, But I think the Whalers are the better team. But again, every time I pick the Whalers, they fucking let me down. So I'm going on the record with the Americans, something to the tune of 2-1. I just don't think the Whalers will put the. And then again, you got to beat J-Flow. I think the Whalers are better team, but I think the Americans will get the win, 2-1.
So this season, regardless of kind of where some of the goalies went in the draft, some of the goalies have played better, worse here, there, whatever else. I don't know. I don't think J-Flow has been as dominant as he has been in years past. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the goalie battle between Cam and J-Flow. Because this year, Cam really didn't get any run support. I mean, he was only giving up 2.44 goals a game before he gave up that big 7 spot we put on him kind of ruined that. But I mean, the Whalers have only scored 33 goals this season. So I mean, in 18 games, that's not even 2 goals a game. Yeah. So if the Whalers can find a way to score more than 2 goals, I would give it to the Whalers. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think J-Flow is going to step up in the playoffs. He always plays well, and you got to go with kind of what you know. Even with Turtle slotted in there, I mean, Turtle's going to be playing with Proctor. He's going to give him feed passes. That's kind of an X factor as well. But I think J-Flow might edge out the goalie duo there just because his defense is a little bit stronger, and they just have a game that kind of matches the Whalers better than vice versa. Yeah. And they'll win something like you said, Troy. I think they're going to win like a 2-1 game. The Whalers aren't going to score, and it's going to be the same troubles they have all season.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Very tight game. I mean, this is like 51%, 49%.
Yeah, I think it's a great matchup here. I'm pretty confident in us. I think if Trent plays his game back at defense, he's been playing there the last couple of weeks. I think that's very good for us as far as going against Proctor. Proctor did have a couple breakaways, so I think Trent does have to be a little bit careful about jumping in the offensive zone a little too much. But if we can shut down Proctor, I feel like the rest of our team can do that. Peso has been starting to score goals for the last month. I feel like this advantage us. I feel like we outplayed them last week. I felt like we didn't get a couple calls as far as the refs go. I feel like hopefully that'll be neutralized this coming week. It'll be fair. Dave P, Peso keep their mouth shut if they don't like some goals. Keep stuff going.
They need to just shut the fuck up. If they go into that game with the mindset of like, oh, these refs are out to get, it's like, shut the fuck up, focus on the game, leave no doubt, take it out of the refs' hands. Dave P, for all his fucking bitching, he had the game on his stick in the slot and he bumblefuck steps on himself, tips over, at the end of the game. So it's like, take it out of the refs' hands,
I think it was another interesting thing too is some teams, they may try to do some wild things throughout the season, try different roster changes and stuff, and then once you find a groove, you stick with it. But in the playoffs, anything goes. I mean, if it's not working, you can make a change in a dime.
Yeah. Proctor's going to play 75% of the game.
Proctor's going to play 75% of the game. Where I'm leading on to this is Manny's played forward the entire year. What happens in the first period if the Americans go down 1-0? They don't like the way it looks. Edge just played a game up with the Seals at forward. You know what, Edge? I feel Manny and Star can do just as well as Edge and Star. Go up. We're going to put Edge on forward. And all of a sudden, now the second line's got Woodsy, Sips, and Edge. And the first line's got Turtle and Proctor.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, if you're down, it's definitely, it's tricky because you don't want to fucking panic. You get down 1-0. It's not like, oh shit, it's the playoffs, one and done. Panic, abandon game plan. But if you're down 2-0 and it's the late second, get into the third, it's like, you got to do what the fuck it takes, and nerves get into it. Like, get in that first, in a one and done game, getting that first goal is fucking huge.
If Proctor strikes first, it's done. Yeah. I think as soon as the Whalers get down, you guys beat your guys self up. There is no fucking leadership, I would say, lack of a better term, on that team. So
Dave P's leadership or Peso. Let's fucking go, boys. That's the leadership.
I mean, obviously, I think as a team that hasn't scored a ton of goals all year, getting down early is definitely something that probably weighs on your mind. But at the same time, Peso has been picking it up. Trent can score even at defense. We got Serta back there. Dave P was scoring earlier in the year. We need to get that back on there. You know, we can. I feel like we can beat anybody in the league. So
Yeah.
it's the playoff time. Let's go. It's time to turn it up.
And everybody's got to show up. Like, attendance is so important, especially your late round good players. Like Old Man Ite, like if I'm, and maybe they've already done it, you know, hopefully they have. But if I'm like, Old Man Ite, you're fucking in. It's the playoffs. We need you. Because if you don't fucking show up, then we're stuck with Ty Otto. You know, it's it's like you need to, attendance will play a role. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
But yeah, that's the first round of the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll be back here next week. Obviously, coming into that, we'll see who's going to be playing the number 1 seed, the Seals, and then the number 2 seed, the North Stars. We kind of have our predictions there. I do feel like we've said this all year. Anybody could beat anybody, so nothing's going to be a major surprise. But I look forward to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think if the Nordiques beating the Tigers would be, you know, that would be a pretty significant upset.
Yeah,
you know,
I'd say so.
That Whalers American game is a coin flip. So we shall see. Man, I'm bummed. I mean, I want to get into that game so bad. You know, it's like, and it's not even my team. I can't imagine how fired up you guys are.
We might just sub you in for Matt Taylor, Troy, the way you've been playing lately.
There you go.
Rah, man.
I'm jealous. It's like I mean, as happy I am to get that bye, it's like, man, you guys got to be excited for this. If you're not, you know, you're in the wrong league.
Yep.
Yeah. So as always, you know, if you have something to say, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show, podcast at MNLHL.com. Follow, subscribe to us on Twitch. If you have that Amazon Prime, you have that Twitch Prime. But, you know, we'll be back here next week with the results, continuing through the playoffs. We got, probably best of 3, so 7 weeks max left. It'll be a good one. You know, what is this going to be, season 4?
Season 4. We have we still have not had a repeat keg winner. So Americans, Seals, Deeks, all with the chance to become the first-time, 2-time keg champions. North Stars, Tigers, Whalers, trying to get on the board.
Obviously, the Ducks cannot get on the board this year, but possibly next year. So,
hey, some of the Ducks players could get on the board.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if Piercy's itching to get out of here. North Stars, we don't have a single keg winner in the locker room, which, you know, some can say that's a disadvantage, but it's like, we're hungry motherfuckers, you know, and I'd love to get everyone's name on that keg. You know, it eats at me to know that both the fucking Maki brothers are on there, you know, and I'm not, you know. It's like, so I want it badly for myself, but I also want it badly for Pete. You know, Pete's too proud to admit that it, you know, but I know it haunts him. You know, Gio wants it, so it's like
That's 10 people you want in your locker room too.
Yeah,
that's 10 people.
Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, nobody wants more Otto brothers on the keg. Well, besides that, yeah, we want the rest of the North Stars on there. But yeah. So until next week,
I want my own ass on the keg. I don't know about you, Pierce. I think you want your own ass on the keg too. Same thing with Dill, right?
If you Pettis is on there with an asterisk.
Hey, the only goal. That's my night trivia. That's for another day.
Anyways, we are over.